Getting your lawn nice and level is one of the most important steps for achieving that golf course look. And there are a couple different ways that you can do this. You can either do it yourself or you can hire it out. We're going to compare the cost for the two options, and I'm going to be leveling my entire yard to give you a first-hand look of how it gets done. But first, let's talk about what it might cost you to hire a professional. When you hire a lawn leveling company, you're going to look at an estimate from anywhere from 30 cents to 40 cents per square foot. So for a large size lawn, that price could add up very quickly. But the biggest advantage to hiring a professional company is the convenience. They're the experts. They have the equipment. They have the expertise to get the job done right. And they can do it a lot faster than you can do it on your own. So that's what you're paying for. But here's the catch. Some companies won't service your area, and most companies won't even come out unless you've got a large enough yard. There's often a minimum yard size, and so if your yard is too small, they may not even take the job, and you'll end up being stuck doing the job yourself anyway. First, let's talk about the equipment and the materials that are going to be needed for this job. And that's going to give us an idea about how much we need to spend on this project. I'm using masonry sand, and it's super important that we make sure that it's dry. I cannot stress to you enough that you need dry sand for this project. You have to be able to work that sand down into the grass. I have 10,000 square feet here on my property, so for this project, I estimated that I would need about 12 cubic yards, and that comes out to be $889, which was $65 per cubic yard, plus a delivery fee. Now, I could have gotten it a little cheaper elsewhere, but I wanted to make sure that I was getting dry sand. Other places could not guarantee that I was going to get dry sand, so I went to a place that could. So that's the total for straight masonry sand delivered to my place here. That price could have been a little bit different if I would have used something like USGA sand. That's the best quality sand that you can buy. It could have been a little cheaper if I went with a topsoil mix, if I needed to fill in some larger ruts throughout the yard. Now that price might seem like a lot, but that's just the beginning. Let's move on to the equipment that we're going to need for this do-it-yourself project. First off, you need a large gorilla cart. Second, you're going to want to get a leveling rake. Then I would get a landscape rake, a shovel, a push broom, and a metal drag mat is what I'd recommend because you can easily pull it by hand. It's the same thing that you'd see on a baseball field. The gorilla cart, I think, is a must-have. It's $299. It will hold up to 1,200 pounds, and it will be able to carry those loads over and over again without as much trouble. And it beats a standard wheelbarrow. You will, of course, need a shovel. Just about everybody's got a shovel, but if you so happen to not have one or a good one, that's going to set you back about 20 bucks at the local hardware store. Next up is a landscape rake. That's going to be about $69. And you can also get that at a local hardware store. That's going to help knock the piles down and to start smoothing them out. Next, you need a decent leveling rake. That's going to be $65. This is the one that I found on Amazon, and you just need to get the job done with this. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. You just got to be able to use that to work the sand into the canopy of the grass. Also, you need to get a push broom. That's going to set you back $24. That's going to help complement the landscape rake, getting that sand down into the canopy of the grass. Lastly, the drag mat over here that I got off Amazon was $139. I think it's really important, even though I may consider it as an optional purchase, but again, it's very important that you get that sand worked in evenly across the lawn. And so when you're doing a job like this by hand, you need to have the best tools at your disposal. And this will be a really good option if you're having to hand pull it, but it's even better if you were to hook it up to an ATV, a golf cart, maybe a mower. You could then just drag it behind it and you can just run circles around this place and get it done, get it smoothed out real nice. Now, if you add all those costs up together with the tools and the materials, that's going to come out to be $1,504. So right around $1,500. That's a pretty significant investment. But if you already have those tools, then that's great. That's going to reduce your cost just a little bit, but the majority of the cost is associated with getting that leveling material. But I would say don't skip on the equipment, because my brother was just telling me the other day, he said, you're only as good as your tools. So make sure you got some good ones. But what about the time aspect of this project and doing it yourself? Because that's just something that you can't ignore. Doing this completely by hand is a project that I estimated that would take me about 16 hours. That's basically like 2 full days of hard work. And I'm in pretty good shape, and I think I can work pretty fast, but that would involve shoveling sand into the gorilla cart, dumping piles of sand all over the yard over and over again until it's done. That's gonna be a very slow process, no matter what kind of shape you're in. I understand that estimate's gonna be a bit different for everybody, but if you find some help, you might be able to do it a little faster. But let's say I set my hourly rate at $50 an hour. For a project that takes 16 hours, that's an additional $800 on top of the material costs and the equipment costs. And so that all adds up to right at around $2,300. So that total is actually pretty high. When you consider the value of your time, a do-it-yourself lawn leveling project really isn't gonna be a whole lot cheaper, and it's gonna give you quite the workout when it's all said and done. Another thing to keep in mind, and this is so important, that you need warm, dry weather for a leveling project. If it rains, it's going to ruin your progress. Which option do you choose? Maybe hiring out a company is your best option. Maybe you do it yourself and you save a little money. But I'm gonna be going with a slightly different option. Now, let me introduce to you Mike Hannon. Mike is a local business owner and he does landscaping and lawn leveling here in the Atlanta area. He's an expert in the field and he's brought all the equipment that we need to get this job done. He's got his core aerator. We're gonna be doing a little core aeration first. He's also got his Dingo, that's a mini skid steer. That's gonna help load the sand down into the spreader. And of course we got the spreader, that's gonna get the job done quick for us. All right, so it's possible for you to rent one of these in a local rental place. It's gonna probably run you anywhere from $180 to $250. So they're not cheap, but they're a lot of times very hard to find. There was only like one place in the local area that had one of these. So Mike's really coming through today. Now, we've also got this mini skid steer. You often hear it called a Dingo. They're really cool. It's gonna have a front loader and it's gonna make this job so much easier because we're gonna be using that front scoop here and we're gonna be just dumping it right into the spreader and it's gonna get that material down on the lawn real quick. But you can also rent one of these at a local place. The problem with that is these things weigh about 3,000 pounds. So if you've got a really large trailer, perfect. Otherwise, you're gonna have to pay a delivery fee, which is gonna run you anywhere from $200 to $300 for them just to get it here for the day and then take it back. So that's not cheap either. All the products and information for this video are going to be down in the description. And if you live in the Atlanta area and you need some professional work done, you should definitely check out Mike's company. And for those of you who want to do it yourself, I've listed everything that you need below. If you use those links, it helps support the channel. Otherwise, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.